From Thom Hartmann's Daily Take Substack. America's Fourth Amendment is on life support. But what do you do when your government becomes the criminal? Raids without warrants, kids in zip ties, and officials who say, quote, "fuck the children," end quote. This is the moral collapse of the American state. It's time for state authorities to start making arrests. Published October 6, 2025. The following is a song inspired by this article.
They used to knock. Now they kick. And the echo sounds a lot like freedom breaking.
Out on the edge of Chicago town, helicopters drown out the cries. Masked men with no names or warrants, dragging dreams into the night.
They're kicking down our door, and the law don't live here anymore. They're burning up the paper that once kept us safe and sure. Before the men is bleeding on the floor, and the ones who swore to guard it are the ones who broke it first.
They say it's just for safety, they say it's for the cause, but there's nothing safe about a boot that doesn't pause. When they come for your neighbor, your friend, your kin, they won't stop there, they'll come again.
What do you do when the badge becomes a mask? What do you say when your freedom's just a task? Do you whisper? Do you kneel? Or do you stand up and make them feel? They're kicking down our door, and the light is fading fast. If we don't fight for justice now, this moment's gonna last. Before the minutes crying from the ashes on the floor, and if we don't rise together, there won't be doors anymore.
When the government becomes the criminal, the people become the law.
Remember the old TV crime drama shows? A cop would bang on a suspect's door and the suspect would say through the door, quote, "Do you have a warrant?" end quote. The officer would then walk away, promising to come back later with the requisite paper signed by a judge. No more. Now they're kicking in doors, shooting pepper gas balls into open windows of cars driven by reporters, smashing windows and furniture, and concealing their faces and identities like the Klan did in the days of old. In Chicago, they've shot 2 unarmed people, killing 1. And there wasn't a warrant signed by a judge to be seen anywhere. People ask, quote, "Are we there yet? Has America gone fascist? And are we now in a militarized dictatorship?" end quote. This last week's illegal, unconstitutional military assault on an apartment building in Chicago argues, quote, "yes," end quote. And if it doesn't stimulate a similar level of public outrage as the Kimmel suspension did, we're all screwed. And by, quote, all, end quote, I mean you too. None of us are safe, if all of us aren't safe. We have to stand up and speak out now. Trump, Vance, Hegseth, and Noem carefully selected a low-income apartment filled with black and Hispanic people, correctly believing that the American mainstream media wouldn't give it the coverage they would if ICE and our military had instead kicked in the doors of a building full of middle-class white people. Soldiers repelled from Black Hawk helicopters as some 300 masked agents ran through the apartment building, kicking in doors, dragging American citizens out, including near-naked children, into the streets and zip-tying them for hours. They then trashed multiple apartments, ripping up furniture, smashing windows, breaking and scattering possessions, removing and carting away phones and laptops. No warrants were signed by judges that were presented, and one ICE thug, when asked about the shivering American citizen kids standing in the freezing cold, said, quote, "Fuck the children," end quote. This is the exact same sort of thing that the British forces did against the colonists in the 1770s that provoked our nation's founders to write the Fourth Amendment into our Constitution. Quote, "The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and describing particularly the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized," end quote. MAGA is delighted. Puppy killer Noem claims people were, quote, "clapping in the streets," end quote, although there doesn't appear to be any evidence of that. MAGA folk seem to think that because they're white, they're safe from attack by this regime. But when they're done with the brown folks, they'll be coming for the white people next. They'll start with Democrats. Trump called them, quote, "Satan," end quote, last week. But history shows they won't stop there. It's already started with Trump's most recent national security directive that instructs the 200-plus local police FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force all across the country to begin investigating anybody or any group that exhibits or has ever given a donation to any group showing, quote, "indicia of terrorism," end quote, including being anti-Christian, anti-capitalism, extremism on migration, race or gender, and hostility toward those who hold traditional views on family, religion, or morality. Do you have a queer kid? A black or Hispanic friend? Are you a union member? Have you failed to attend church over the past few years? Are you Jewish or Muslim, Unitarian? Ever donated to a civil rights group? Voted Democratic or voted for a Republican who Trump despises, like Liz Cheney or Adam Kinzinger? You are next. They might have already started surveilling you, tapping your phones, reading your emails, collecting your browser and location history. This isn't the first time masked armed agents of the government have terrorized American citizens. In the late 1870s and 1920s in Portland, Oregon, among other cities, hooded members of the Ku Klux Klan were deputized and unleashed against racial minorities, Catholics, Jews, union members, and other, quote, "criminals and undesirables," end quote. Oregon had been so taken over by the Klan that in the election of 1876, their electoral college votes were challenged by both parties in Congress, leading, in part, to the election being handed to Republican Rutherford B. Hayes. Eventually, Oregon and the rest of America rejected masked secret police and vigilantes on our streets. Now, in this generation, it's our turn. Christopher Armitage, on his Existential Republic Substack newsletter, argues forcefully that masked federal agents committing crimes should be arrested by state and local police. Quote, "Here's what you need to know. Federal agents are committing state felonies every day, breaking and entering, kidnapping, assault, when they kick down doors without judicial warrants, when they detain citizens without probable cause, when they point guns at children. These are crimes under state law, and Democratic governors have the power to prosecute those crimes. When ICE agents face potential state prosecution for breaking down doors, they'll start getting real warrants signed by real judges. When pointing guns at families could mean assault charges, they'll think twice. When detaining U.S. citizens could mean kidnapping prosecutions, they'll check IDs more carefully. And Trump can't pardon state crimes. Those convicted end up in state prisons. It's probably why, like the Klan of old, they conceal their identities. ICE isn't bothering to get the kind of warrants required by the Fourth Amendment. Instead, they're using, quote, administrative warrants, end quote, signed by ICE officials. These are just window-dressing paperwork and are not legal warrants. Armitage points out, quote, so when ICE breaks down a door with only administrative paperwork, that's burglary under California Penal Code 459. When they haul away citizens without probable cause, that's kidnapping under Penal Code 207. When they point weapons at unarmed families, that's assault under Penal Code 245, end quote. He correctly tells us all to contact our state and local elected officials and demand that they enforce the laws of our states. You can DuckDuckGo search for your town's mayor's office, your state representative and senator, and you can call your House and Senate members at 202-224-3121. This brutal, illegal attack on American citizens last week was the Trump regime's most visible, quote, crossing the Rubicon, end quote, moment. If it stands, it will become normal, and none of us are safe. When the government becomes the criminal, silence is complicity. The Fourth Amendment is not a relic or a privilege. It's the firewall between freedom and tyranny. If we allow it to burn, we're setting fire to the idea of America itself. Every citizen, every journalist, every elected official who still believes in the rule of law must speak out, organize, and demand accountability before this becomes irreversible. History does not forgive those who stayed quiet while justice was destroyed in plain sight. The time to speak out and demand action is now.